the judges of the New York State Court of Appeals, and His Excellency, the Governor of the State of New York. Swearing-in ceremony will now begin. All please be seated.
Good afternoon and welcome to this very special day in the life of the Court of Appeals. My colleagues and I are pleased to greet Governor George E. Pataki and Mrs. Pataki, the family and friends of Judge Richard C. Wesley, and all of you, our honored guests from public and private life. Today, Judge Wesley takes his oath of office and officially assumes his responsibilities as an associate judge of the Court of Appeals. There are several firsts that you will hear about today, and I know you'll hear more of them as the afternoon unfolds. I want to mention just one. In reading the document by which the governor made his designation, I noted that the nomination is quite specifically of Richard C. Wesley of Livonia. Now, I've studied the history of this remarkable court. I've pored over the backgrounds of each of the 82 associate judges and 22 chief judges appointed since 1869, and I've even researched the 19 Court of Appeals judges previously designated under the Constitution of 1846. This is a first for us and a first for Livonia. We are delighted also to welcome Judge Wesley's family, his wife Catherine, his children Sarah and Matthew, and his neighbors from Livonia, and to see his mother-in-law Roxana Rice, as well as his mother Betty Wesley. Mrs. Wesley is actually from Hemlock, where Judge Wesley was born. In Hemlock, I'm told, Livonia is known as the Big Apple. We acknowledge our wonderful friends and colleagues from the 4th Department in which Livonia is situated, most especially our former Court of Appeals colleague Richard Simons and the presiding Justice Dolores Denman, and Judge Wesley's own former appellate division and trial bench colleagues. We greet our phenomenal friends from the 3rd Department, most especially the presiding Justice Anthony Cardona. The 3rd Department adjoins the 4th Department in which Livonia is situated. And we're delighted also to see our terrific friends from the 1st and 2nd Departments, in particular, presiding Justice Tim Murphy and presiding Justice Guy Mangano. The 1st and 2nd Departments are not really all that far from Livonia. So you see, today, everything centers on Livonia, and in particular, on one of its most illustrious citizens, Richard C. Wesley. We have, as you know, enjoyed a brief period of cohabitation with Judge Wesley before the formal ceremony that legally unites us. But even a brief period is long enough to learn how central a role his home community plays in Judge Wesley's life. Already we have heard about his school days there when he was one of only 2 boys in the class. We know about his work with the Volunteer Ambulance Corps. We know about his house on Main Street. We know about his extended family and about the people and restaurants of Livonia. And we know that measured by the high standards of the people who know him best, Judge Wesley has earned the admiration and respect of everyone. But he is also a person of the big city, actually at least 2 big cities, Albany and Rochester. And there too, Judge Wesley has earned universal admiration and respect as a college student, as a practicing lawyer, a legislator, a diligent trial judge, a resourceful and effective supervising judge, a distinguished appellate division judge, a committed jogger. We are so pleased to welcome him now to his house on 20 Eagle Street. The swearing in of a new judge is surely a joyous occasion, but it has a solemn aspect too. For one judge, it marks a new beginning. For the rest of us at Court of Appeals Hall, the expansion of a quite unique and marvelous family that grows only larger and larger. But there is much, much more here today than the mere passing of a seat from one Richard to another Richard. Wholly apart from any individual, this occasion also marks the continuation, the stability, the continuity of an extraordinary institution now celebrating its 150th year of rendering prompt and effective justice to the citizens of this state in accordance with the laws of our state and nation. The portraits that decorate this chamber, traditionally painted upon a judge's retirement, are a silent reminder of the awesome legacy of this court and of the awesome responsibility of each of us privileged to serve here. Judge Wesley, we wish you long, happy, productive years here before you have to give any thought to getting your own portrait painted. While we have had the pleasure twice of hearing Governor Pataki in this chamber on Law Day, today will be his first speaking from the bench. I now turn to the Governor for his remarks.
Thank you very much, Chief Judge Kaye, and thank you for those wonderful comments. They are, I'm sure, appreciated by everyone here as well as Judge Wesley. And to the other distinguished members of the Court of Appeals and of the judiciary, thank you for being here for this very important day. And I look out and I see the Attorney General, Dennis Bacco. I see colleagues from the state legislature, Senator Lack, Senator Rizzolio, and Judge Wesley's former roommate, Congressman Bill Paxson here. And Congressman, it's nice to see you here in the Court of Appeals. Let me begin by saying that I was unaware that I was appointing Judge Wesley of Livonia. I guess it's too late to rethink the appointment. I thought I was appointing Judge Wesley of Hemlock, where he grew up. And, given my support for the death penalty, I thought there was a bit of a connection there. But nonetheless, we do have Judge Wesley of Livonia, and let me just say, in all seriousness, that I think his colleagues on the Court of Appeals, all of us in this room, his colleagues from the legislature, and the people of New York State are blessed to have someone like Judge Wesley seated with you on the Court of Appeals. He is a person of enormous intelligence. He has the character, he has the conviction to do what people have done from this bench for now 150 years, and that is to provide a sense of justice to the people of this great state, and more than that, a sense of leadership to the judiciary and to others around the country, and the integrity and the commitment that this judge will bring will complement you and your colleagues as you go forward. So I just want to congratulate particularly Judge Wesley's mother and his wife and his family. Whenever a person succeeds, it's because of their family, their community, their friends, and I'm sure Judge Wesley would agree with that. And to all of you, thank you for your respect for this wonderful institution, and we are very pleased that this magnificent court will have another excellent justice. Thank you.
We thank you, Governor, for your remarks and for your choice. And I would now like to call upon Judge Wesley for the administration of the oath of office. please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Richard C. Wesley,
I, Richard C. Wesley,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and that I will faithfully discharge
the duties of the office
of
Associate Judge of the Court of Appeals of the State of New York
Associate Judge of the Court of Appeals of the State of New York
according to the best of my ability,
according to the best of my ability.
so help me God.
So help me God.
I would now like to call upon former Justice Richard C. Wesley, now Judge Richard C. Wesley, for his remarks.
Chief Judge Kaye, Governor Pataki, my colleagues of the Court of Appeals, my new colleagues of the Court of Appeals, my former colleagues of the bench and of the legislature, most importantly, my family assembled here today, and my very many friends. I must tell you that I'm a little bit nervous speaking in front of so many people that know so much about me. One misstep, and I know that there's instant verification as to what I say. But let me express to you today a few thoughts that are on my mind and a few feelings that I have that perhaps can relate to you. Today, for us, the Wesleys, is a day of joy, a day of thanks, and most importantly for me and for my family, a day of reflection. Joy at the prospect of sitting on our state's highest court, for a lawyer and for a judge to walk in the halls where Cardozo worked, and to sit on our state's highest court is the highest calling, and I am grateful to the governor for giving me the nomination to this court. Thanks to the governor for his support and for his trust in me in my nomination, and thanks to Judge Kaye for her warmth and her friendship that made me so welcome during my early days here, since I've already sat now for one term and are beginning my second term. Thanks to the New York State Senate, and particularly Senators Lack and Senators Leitner of the Judiciary Committee, for what was for me an uplifting and encouraging confirmation hearing and confirmation before the full Senate. And thanks, quite frankly, to all of you for being here today to share this moment with my family and me. But most importantly for me, it is a day of reflection, a day to think back as to why all of us are here and the part that you've played in my life. Last Friday, we had a ceremony celebrating Black History Month in the Court of Appeals. And a young lady who works in our court, a young lady by the name of Kalima Jenkins, read a quote from Althea Gibson that came to mind and what I thought most appropriate for this ceremony. And the quote was, "No matter what accomplishment you make, somebody helps you." And indeed, all of the people that are in this great hall, this hall of the Court of Appeals today, have played a very important part in my life, and that's why you're here. All of you, in one way or another, have helped me and my family. And I'd like to review with you, just for a few minutes if you would, why you're here and what you've done for me. Obviously, and most obviously, my family is here to share this day with me. And let me speak of them briefly to you. It's not uncommon for someone when they take on a new office to spend a few minutes talking about their family, but I'm not quite sure ever we're able to do justice to what we have to say. But let me speak to you briefly about my wife, Kathy. Steadfast, loyal, loving, the light in my life when there is darkness. The person who has always been honest with me, even when I did not want to hear her honesty. I do not have the appropriate words, nor am I gifted enough to tell you the depth of my devotion and love for her and all that she has given to me. And then my children, Sarah and Matthew. They say that when you look into the face of your child just after he or she has been born, you see the face of God. And I believe that to be the truth, because when I saw them come into this world, I understood what a miracle was, and suddenly my life was changed in the responsibilities that I now had to my children, and I thank them for putting up with a father who at times is a little more difficult and leaves some of his patience in the courtroom and perhaps didn't bring it home with him. Equally importantly are here today the woman that gave me life, my mother, and my brother, Donald, who comes here with his family. I come from a very wonderful and caring and loving family, a family that never gives up. There has never been a time in my life when my mother ever admitted defeat, when she ever gave in any way, shape, or form. And think about that when you're being disciplined. To say that my mother is tough, any of you that know her either politically or socially, is indeed an understatement. And I recall when I was a freshman in high school and my mother was given 6 months to live. And she is here today, many years thereafter. I come from a family that finds strength and comfort from within. I receive a letter every 2 to 3 weeks from my brother. I'm not a good writer myself, and so he writes knowing full well that there'll be no letter in return. But he writes from Orchard Park, where he's a high school principal, and he writes with passion, and he writes to me about what moves him in education and what thoughts are on his mind. And I look forward to those letters because they give me strength. I come from a family that has a deep, abiding faith that it must give back to its community. I remember very early on when I was in high school, my mother was driving home from Highland Hospital, which is in the real big city, in Rochester, where all those city-fied folk are, not like those folk down in Hemlock or Livonia. And my mother would drive by this old man in the town of Rush, and she couldn't understand why he was always out beside the road. And she took it upon herself to stop and talk to him, and she adopted that old man and brought him Christmas presents when no one else would. And I took that example and have followed it in my life with the young people that live in our community. I didn't get that idea for myself. I got it from my mother. Also, and equally important today is a lady that I've known since I was born, and that's my Aunt Gladys, my father's only sibling, his daughter. And my father has been gone now for 17 years, and yet, shortly before I came down here to speak to you, I spoke with him. My father is a source of strength and compassion to me. And when I see someone who's lost their father, I remind them that they are never ever separated from that person, because they will always be with them, and what a great gift a father or a parent has. And so my family is here today with me, and I am proud that I am a Wesley. There are 2 other families of mine that are here today. My court family, Sue Beachel, who's been with me only almost as long as I've been married to my wife, the other woman in my life. She's a year and a half behind in the relationship, and my 2 law clerks, Mike and Mark. Michael's kind of headstrong and ready to go, and Mark's quieter and more thoughtful, but their advice is well given, and I appreciate their closeness to me. And then my wife's family. My mother-in-law, Roxana Rice, and my sisters-in-law, and my brother-in-law are here today, and they have always been kind and warm and loving to me and accepted me from that first day I walked in the house, and my father-in-law was no longer living, kind of looked at me with a sense of suspicion. It was bad enough that his daughter was going out with someone, but a lawyer, heaven forbid that he should go out with a lawyer. And then there's another group of family that takes up about 3/4 of this hall, those that are related to me. My cousins have come many miles to be here today, and I want my cousins to know how truly proud I am of my cousins who are here, some of whom have gone into law enforcement and done very well, but all of whom are abidingly close to me and always been a source of comfort and love to me. My mother comes from a large family of 9, and so you can imagine the Sunday dinners when everyone assembled were quite an opportunity for deviltry around the family farm in Honeoye. Also with me today are many, many dear friends from Livonia, and I'm not shy about that, and also from that other town that I lived in for a very brief period of time, Geneseo. And they're here to celebrate this day with us, and I'm glad that they're here because The word home and the whole concept of home is indeed a central part of my life and extremely important to me. In this audience today are people that went to high school with me, who know me back, in fact, as far back as Little League, something I kind of want to forget on occasion. There are friends my age and friends much younger than me, friends that have come to know us through work that we've done in the school or in athletic endeavors. And then there are other friends who've enriched our lives deeply. Indeed, there are two friends here who slammed the door in the face of death when it stood to take their child, who fought the good fight, who asked us to share it with them, who made our lives much better. And then there are my friends from sport. I'm sure that they're here someplace, but it's very well known that I have a deep and abiding love for the game of baseball, and that I enjoy coaching youth sports. And so McPherson and Toppany are somewhere here. They probably got here late and are in the TV room. But baseball for me is almost a religious experience at times. It teaches patience. You have to understand the fact that failure is always evident. It's one of the few sports in which 30% of the time, if you're successful, that's tremendous. And I recall very specifically an afternoon in Honeoye, New York, when we were playing a baseball game, a Babe Ruth game. And we sat there, McPherson, Toppany, now quite a crew. He's an artist, and the other is, McPherson's an artist, and Toppany is a contractor. And we sat there and we watched the sun go through the cottonwood as it came over the field, and the boys were playing baseball, and McPherson turned to me and said, "This is what life is all about, and life could not be better than this moment," and he was exactly right. My home has been and always will be my sanctuary, and you, my friends of the community from which I come, will always be my point of reference in life, my guiding star upon which I try to live my life. And so I'm thankful that you're here. I have friends from college here who've come back to visit and who've been in touch with me in the last few days when my name once again has come to the front. And even a friend from law school who's traveled a great distance to be here and share this day with me. I went to college at the State University of New York at Albany with a burning desire to teach history. I left that university still with a burning desire, but had altered it to perhaps study the law and become a lawyer, a profession that I had no real experience in, but went and watched in the courts and decided it would be an honorable thing to do. I have friends who are here from law school, and the great experience that I had at the Cornell Law School in Ithaca, New York, where I learned my craft and came to love it very well. My partners from Geneseo, New York are here, the men that I practiced law with for over 10 years, who always encouraged me and lifted me up and encouraged me to go on and do other things, even though they knew that it might take me away from them. And we had a great deal of fun practicing law, something that I intend to speak about at the Albany County Bar later this week. My friends and colleagues from the Assembly are here. My predecessor, the man who first gave me a job working in politics, Jim Emery, is here today. The people who first committed themselves to me in 1982 to run for the New York State Legislature are here today, including my county chairman at that time. And yes, my two other brothers are here, Senator Michael Nozzolio and Congressman Bill Paxson, who know more about me and have been sworn to secrecy for the rest of their lives. And indeed, the governor even has some of that inside information, which apparently he chose to overlook during the course of the review process. But what you don't understand, unless you've served there, is what kind of cauldron the legislature can be and how it forges friendships. And so today, publicly, I'm thankful to all of you, my former colleagues of the legislature, but most particularly my two other brothers, for being here and for continuing to be family to me. And then my brothers and sisters of the courts of this state, not only the trial and the appellate judges with whom I've served, but the court reporters and the stenographers, and even the media which has covered the courts, watching us work in the trenches and deal with the problems of people's lives, the men and women of this state who have dedicated themselves to bringing justice to New Yorkers. And indeed, even my former law clerks have seen fit to come today and disavow themselves of several of the former opinions that I wrote. And then there's my beloved colleagues of the 4th Department. And even my nephew. For 2.5 years, I was pleased and honored to serve with them in the 4th Department, and never did I learn more than I did in those 2.5 years in the 4th Department under the gentle but firm hand of the presiding judge, Dolores Denman, who became not only chief judge to me, but a friend and family to me also. I was challenged in the conference room, and yet I was accepted with regard to my views, and I participated fully at the conference table. And lastly, my new colleagues of this court, the Court of Appeals. I have served here since the 6th of January, and from the first day that I came here, I was treated with openness and warmth. People looked past whatever perceptions may have been the decision of the media to cast me in, and looked to me as I was and accepted my views, and I am eternally grateful to them for the way they have treated me and accepted me in this honored court. And lastly, I'm grateful to all of you for coming here today and reaffirming your commitment to me and your friendship to me and all that you have given me over these years, and myself and my family are deeply appreciative of that. I have been given a great gift, a great responsibility, a great and public trust to help to define the law for all of the people of this great state. I accept the task, and I pray that I am up to its demands. Thank you, and God bless.
Thank you, Judge Wesley. We do indeed have instant verification from the people who know you best. This brings our ceremony to a close. We thank all of you for sharing this occasion with us.